till I die, Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die.
Can any of you guys hear me?
Tottenham till I die, Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die.
What?
Something has gone funny
What's happened
wrong.
there, guy? Oh, right, that's better.
Are we back? Right. The first thing, welcome to the Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. I can take it from Adrian's thumbs up. You can hear me.
Yes.
Because for some reason, when the music was playing, I couldn't hear it, and I normally can. So, look, a very good evening to you. What a fascinating day we had yesterday. You'll see, as if you don't know, that the game finished Spurs 2, Manchester United 2. But that hardly tells a story for a game that we were losing, nearly won, and then ended up drawing, which some people might think is a fair result. But to go over that, we had Harry Scarf on a couple of weeks ago, and my inbox was absolutely flooded with requests. I actually needed to employ a personal assistant to answer all the fan mail for you, Harry. Okay,
Oh, really?
But I've decided he was that good. I need him back on the show. So, Harry, good evening and welcome to the show again.
No, thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to getting into it. Talking about what was a crazy game. Much better second half. So nearly got the smash and grab win, but looking forward to discussing it. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. Okay. Could any of you hear the music, the background music?
Yes.
I don't know, because I got a message from you, Harry, there on the private chat saying what's happening. Anyway, look, I'm sure we'll get this going. One of our regulars, Zookeeper Tom. Good evening, Tom. How are you, sir?
Yeah, all well, thank you. All good.
Good. I had Tom's ticket yesterday. I had the pleasure of watching the game with his dad, Kevin, and meeting up with his sister, Kerry, and brother-in-law, Brad. So we'll get their comments as well. And, of course, my partner in crime, good evening, Adrian.
Good evening. Yeah, we also met up with Blaine, who flew in from Ireland. So it was good to meet with him. I've just added him back to the WhatsApp group. And we met them fantastic guys from South Dorset Spurs. They are the salt of the earth under the stairs at entrance 22, where we always meet after games, unless it's a night game and everybody just pisses off to get home quickly. Right. Yeah. So great bunch. In our tribe, we've got a great bunch in our tribe here.
Yeah, I'm just going to say a very quick hello to the people in the chat. Brian, good evening. Harry, you just introducing yourself, which is called Jimmy. Good evening to you, Graham, as ever. Always a pleasure. Milton, 8:35. You've beaten Peter to the time check. 8:35 in Wollongong, Australia. Was that? Is that in New South Wales? I don't know. Yeah, but there we are. I think you're. I didn't see that comment, Graham, but that's yeah. We nearly lost, nearly won. Then Drew, crazy game. I think Alan Shearer was saying as well, not particularly high on quality, but you can't argue with the drama. But yeah, Dean Thomas, the injury curse continues. I will be coming to that later in the show. But let's start, as we often do, with the team. Some comments. Harry, I will start with you, my friend. That was the team. Just to help you, The changes from Copenhagen, I think, if I'm right, is Polina for Bentancur, Spencer for Udogie, Richarlison for Odegaard. And Frank said his interview selections were for tactical reasons. I've misedited that. For tactical reasons for this particular game. So I'll let you take all of those points on board, as I will with Tom and I will with Adrian. What was your take on that team, and in particular the changes and Frank's explanation for them?
You know me, I'm honest and say how it is. I was a bit surprised and frustrated at the time, because just even if we focus on that left back position, I think Udogie has a lot more balance and a lot more, just attacking quality going forward than Jed Spence does. And don't get me wrong, Spence is great in 1v1 and he's done so well at left back that we forget he actually is a right back, and that's real credit to him, the job he's filled in there. But for me now, it's getting to a point where he's stopping us going forward. Udogie, I think, has a lot to offer though going forward. So I was frustrated to see that. But at the same time, he's just come back from injury. So context in that case is important. So we have to rotate. That's the reality. It's still that team that's put out there, is capable of a lot more, which we'll get onto, than we saw in the first half. But I think, looking back now in hindsight, which is easy to say, I think Frank got the selection wrong. I was surprised to see the likes of Odegaard not start. It just felt like his type of game on paper, the way that United play their system. You can really get at United with pace. So yeah, very surprised, but and a bit worried at the time. And I think the worries, turned out to be a reality in that first half. But again, I'm sure we'll get onto it. I think Frank really got it right in terms of his in-game management as the game went on.
You're 100% right that we will come on to it, and I don't want to take anybody else's thunder about this. Tom, I've been a little bit critical of Thomas Frank in home games. This looked to be, granted, he's decided, okay, I'm not playing the two holding midfield players, but it still looked to me like a team that had defence more in mind than attack.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's so difficult because I do kind of fundamentally agree with the fact that he very much at the moment is playing to not to lose rather than to win. But in the same breath, we've got a lot of injuries, and as Harry said, we're having to rotate our players well to ensure that we don't get any more injuries. And when last season we had lots of injuries, the one thing that people moaned at Ange for was being too gun-ho and not, being a bit more negative in his style and a bit more reserved. So like he was almost playing to win games, which was then meaning we was losing games, and people were getting frustrated about him being more pragmatic. And Thomas Frank's probably being pragmatic, and that's frustrating people. And I do agree. I mean, I wanted to see Richarlison given a shot at left wing just to see if there was an improvement in him playing in that position. And I think we got our answer of no. There wasn't. But yeah, fundamentally for me, people are looking at our left wing going, we really need to improve our left wing. But I actually think the biggest thing for us, there's two things. One is a deep line playmaker, but that's harder to do. The other thing is just having another left-footed left back would be huge for us to be able to rotate with Udogie, because as Harry said, Spence, for me, absolutely brilliant 1v1 defender. Again, if you're playing against an Mbeumo who's going to cut in on his left foot, or going to cut in on his left foot, I'm fully understand playing Jed Spence as left back, because that helps negate that. But the problem is then getting forward, it's just non-existent. He doesn't contribute to the attack. He actually drifts into the spaces that you want your attacking players to kind of be taking up. So I feel like an easy win for us in January, help with that, would be actually to get another left-footed left back in.
That we tried. Sorry, I did bring up that comment from. Not quite sure what you mean, Jose. I don't know if that's a dig at me.
No, you didn't introduce him when we was talking about everyone we met yesterday. We left him out.
Oh God, Eltel Cockerell, was he there? I'm sorry.
You can't miss him. He's not a small guy. You know what I mean?
Eltel Cockerell was Jose was there. Yeah, I do. If you want to come on the show, Jose, just message me on WhatsApp and I'll send you.
Give you the link.
Always welcome on this show. You know that. Adrian, okay, the Invisible Man notwithstanding, because Mbeumo yesterday, and I know Tom didn't make the game, but Mbeumo, I was a little bit surprised to see him playing wide left, and I wonder if that was something that Amorim deliberately did to target Porro, or was it just to accommodate the lineup that they had?
Well, it was noticeable that Porro wasn't at his rampaging best. Mind you, he hasn't been at his best the last couple of games.
No.
I agree with Tom on the left back situation. We definitely need a left footer. Left footers give you width going forward, and Udogie does that. And I want him back there and Spence on the right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a. I mean, you guys seem to think it depends how you look at the team with Richarlison in it. If he was playing on the left, you could say it was defensive, but he was playing through the middle. So I thought this was an more attacking lineup than playing Paulina and Bentancur, to be honest. I think it was more attacking. And, looking at the lineup, I thought, yeah, there wasn't much more you could do bar than playing Bentancur because everybody else seems to be injured. And I didn't want Richarlison in the team. I'd rather start with Odegaard, who actually, when he came on, was super. I thought he's getting better and better, but I'm sure you'll get onto that. So the lineup, yeah, I thought it was a decent lineup. To me, I look at it, I think it's an attacking lineup, but it's just my opinion on that. I mean, I thought it is what it is, mate, as Ed would say.
But funnily enough, you'll know if you haven't met him. Certainly, Adrian's met him, and Tom, you'll know my pal Jem Silverstone, and we had brunch in Cockfosters on Friday, and with the two of us are absolutely agreed that the squad that we got and the way we want to play is absolutely made for 3-5-2, and I'm gonna keep harping on about it until I see Frank give it a go. We need another couple of defenders because let's be honest with you, we got 2 injured. We got one in Germany and a couple of others out on loan. John Stones is out of contract in the summer, not getting much looking. I really like him. I'll park that. I'll just put that in for people in the chat. Harry, despite comments from your panelists and the fact that we only played Polina, not Bentancur, so that gave us an extra option, as we had against Copenhagen with an extra player getting forward, Sarr supporting Simmons. There wasn't a lot of positivity in the way we started playing the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so.
No, there wasn't. I think it was a bad start. And we talk about, poor home form, and that would be right to talk about. You have to start games well. And I'm a big believer that the home atmosphere is a problem. I really do believe that. But I think at the same time, if you give fans something to get behind, you start well. That is really important. And I think the first kind of 120 seconds of the game, it looked good from Tottenham. We had a throw and we're pushing, but then it just kind of faded. And it's always going to be a difficult game. United have improved. But I think as the game went on, we saw that, United team isn't quite where Amorim still wants it to be yet. There's still fragility there, especially defensively. There's areas to exploit, let's say, would be a better way of putting it. So, no, not the start that we wanted in. And as I said, we get on to it, just felt like you knew who was going to score, unfortunately. It was just a matter of when rather than if. And that's always a problem when you're at home. And I think there's a genuine conversation to have about the home record because Frank had a really good home record at Brentford. So we need to find a way of winning at home because don't get me wrong, I think we've done it the right way around, although it's frustrating because it's a lot harder to go away from home and get results. Look at Newcastle at the moment. I believe it will cost Eddie Howe his job in just probably a few weeks or months' time, potentially, that they can't get a result away from home. Home form, I'm not saying it's easy, it's not probably a quick fix, but in front of your own fans, you hope that'd be easy to fix. And if you're travelling, and for Spurs to travel and get a result in recent years has been very tough. We've solved that problem recently, which is fantastic. Now it's improving the home forms. It feels like we're playing 20 away games, Ian. That's a problem.
Yeah, that is true. Jimmy, I'm going to just raise that point because that is something I've gotten a banner on for us to discuss, once again. Romero wasn't at the races. I think he's being kind to him. Tom, you managed to catch some of the game. I know I had your seat or your ticket. Did you manage to see a fair bit of it on stream?
Yeah, I mean, luckily for me, I mostly saw the second half rather than
Right.
the first half. But I caught the highlights of the first half. And it was pretty abysmal. I mean,
Yeah.
the home form is a worry, and I think it's kind of this cyclical kind of thing in terms of the crowd kind of needs the team to produce something for the crowd to get involved.
Mm.
And the team kind of feels like they need the crowd to get involved for them to be able to step it up a level and stuff like that. Like, it does feel like there's a little bit of fear with the team at playing at home because they know that the crowd is very reactionary in booing
it's
and
the
things
chicken and the egg,
that.
though, isn't it?
It is.
With crowds. I mean, the one thing I noticed, and I hate it, was the number of, there's not the number of Koreans that were there, that were there in previous seasons for obvious reasons. But there are still loads of people walking around outside the ground at, 11:30 with half and half scarves, and I'm going, no proper fan wears a half and half scarf.
The problem is unfortunately is the ticket prices. That is, it's like the cheapest ticket for a game against Copenhagen the other day. The cheapest ticket was 60 quid.
Yeah.
The cheapest ticket on the weekend was about 70 quid.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely abysmal. Like to the point where they were actually putting the tickets on guest general sale. Like you didn't even have to be a member to be able to buy a ticket. And then lo and behold, you suddenly got problems with away fans in the home areas. And I can't. It seems to me that ever since we sort of moved to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we had that first season after Wembley where they sort of froze the ticket prices. Like my season ticket when we first went to Tottenham, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was about 780, 800 quid. I'm now paying over £1,000, and it's just obscene. Like, and the thing is, what that does is that it makes me feel I'm paying for a product, and if I'm going there and I'm not getting value for my money now, I'm annoyed and pissed off, especially when it's best part of £100 every time I go there in terms of, travel, food, drink, whatever it might be. It's just, if you're not then getting that product that you're expecting for that money, you end up being pissed off. Whereas if it was half that price, then all of a sudden you're a bit like, you know what, I've got to meet up with my mates and have a drink and have a laugh and a chat with them, even if the football's a bit turgid, it's not so bad. But when you're looking in the space of a week, 3 home games, you would have had to have spent the best part of 300 and something odd quid just to go and watch those 3 games. It's obscene. No, people can't afford it, and that makes the crowd angry before a ball has even been kicked. That makes the crowd angry, and they're expecting to see good, high quality football when you're paying the second highest ticket price, season ticket prices in the whole of Europe.
Well, let me bring the old man in on this, and I mean that every.
I know ageism was going to come into it. I knew it.
It's your turn anyway, but I mean, I'm going back. I mean, I'm 66 next month, so I'm no spring chicken. But I mean, I seem to remember. I mean, I'm trying to think when we queued. Those of you know, in the old East Stand in Worcester Avenue, there was a boys' entrance just the other side of the Paxton Road entrance. And I reckon it might have been, I'm going at 1972, 73, 10 bob to get in.
Less.
8 pence. I don't know if it, but I mean, it is different times. I mean, Tom's right. I bought a round of drinks. I bought some food before the game. I paid for my ticket, train fare. It's, it's over 100 quid. It's a lot of money now for people.
And a good question to everyone, right? There's no excuse for it. Tom's hit the nail on the head because Bournemouth get a crowd of 15,000. I don't know how much they charge their fans to go, but how do they do it? How do Bournemouth do it? I mean, our South Stand holds more than the Bournemouth ground, right? So how do Bournemouth do it on 15,000 gate and still function well, and they're doing very well as a football club on that sort of a gate, and we can't? And we know that money through gates is not the most revenue you get from football. I mean, Spurs make about 120 million a year, 6 million a game, right? But they get much more than that through TV revenue because our average turnover is like 550 million. You know, they get about 250 million from sponsorships. So there's no excuse for it. We're being taxed. Under Levy, we were being taxed. I've always said it, to help finance the club debt, which they introduced on us. Built the stadium on the fans' basis and tax us with high prices. And when they do freeze the prices, what they did when they froze the prices, oh yeah, all good, they put the price of the beer and the food up in the stadium. So they were nibbling back that way. There's no excuse for it. They get a big enough crowd, and that stadium should be full. There should be people, you know, desperate to get tickets because they're that cheap to get them. And as someone said, I don't know who said it when we all met up, Ian, I don't know if it was outside or inside the ground, we met in the usual spot with all the crowd, was why couldn't they have just given 5,000 tickets to the local schools or something?
Yes. I don't know who said that. Was it Blaine or Kev that
It
said
probably
that?
was Blaine, actually. Yeah,
It was Blaine. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was 44,000 Copenhagen when I was there. Great game, disgusting attendance for our club, our football club. 44,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it with the midweek games. Look, it's hard enough to get to a game on time with a transport system. It always seems to be shit,
Yeah.
right? And then people have got to go to work and all that. So a lot of them are put off for going midweek games because they know it's such a hassle getting to and from the stadium. And you have to remember the Spurs fan base now, years ago when we went in, about 20, 30 years ago, it was only 3% in Haringey that had season tickets anyway.
Yeah.
So most of their fan base travel in. They
Yeah.
travel in from Marlow and places like that.
And you
Right?
can't park now.
So if you want
When
to,
we went to
if you want to encourage,
Sorry,
sorry, Tom, let me just make this final point. If you want to encourage the fans to travel in, make the prices cheaper for them to come to the game.
100%, and proof and evidence of that is when we went to Wembley and we was playing at Wembley, the Champions League campaign we had there, they charged 90 quid for the group stage games, 90 quid for all three home.
Yeah.
So 30 quid per game, and they sold out Wembley Stadium for those 3 games. And and getting to Wembley Stadium is way more difficult than getting to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Tottenham Hotspur fans.
And they broke the crowd record against Dortmund, Tom. They broke the crowd record.
And why? And that's because it was 30 quid. There's and that'd be funny if those tickets for Copenhagen had been sold at 30 quid or even 40 quid, they would have filled up the stadium, and then you get the secondary spend. They would have made more money. But selling them at a cheaper price and getting more people there. Sorry, it feels like we're like old men shout at cloud kind of thing.
You're
but
right. In fact, I think the first time I had your ticket, Tom, was the Real Madrid game. But your dad, it was your dad, Kerry, and me, and we were still in Wembley an hour after kickoff, trying to get a car out of Wembley.
Yeah,
But look, this all arose, and I'm keeping this conversation going because I think it's interesting. And if the numbers were going down in the chat, I'd know I'd lost it. But this actually all comes down to people, Harry, are paying an awful lot of money. You know, young boy like you having to pay, you know, whatever it is you have to pay without an income. You're entitled to turn around and say, you entertain me. I'm paying a lot of money to watch you. Don't expect me to be constantly cheering and singing when the football is of a poor quality. It's up to you as the professionals, highly paid professionals. Some of them will earn more in a year than some people will earn in a lifetime, to entertain us, not the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear what you're saying. I think there is an important factor to remember, and that is football prices are very high. Well, all things are around the world. But if we're going to zoom in, especially at the moment, but let's zoom in on football. I don't think it is just a Tottenham issue. I think it's a new stadium issue. It's a Premier League issue where fans over time have been forced out of the game. Yeah, in my lifetime, which is very, very short, even then, prices have gone up year by year. But at the same time, I think it's down to individual decision whether you decide to pay for it or not. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it should be cheaper. I agree in particular what Tom says about you lower the price for Copenhagen, but you still have got the option to pay that. And it's difficult because, you know, it's a new stadium. I get why the club charge as much as they do because, you know, they're not the only ones that do it, etc. I do think a lot of fans, you know, will sit here and go, look, we want tickets to be cheaper, but at the same time, why aren't we going out there and signing world-class players? I know that, you know, in one game that, you know, kind of what the tickets you make, it's not going to make a big difference. But the point is, I think some fans want it both ways. But the reality is, I do think I'm going to pinpoint some of it on fans. I think the atmosphere is still poor. I think it still would be. I think it would be less of a problem if the tickets were cheaper, of course, but I still think that problem will be there. And frankly, you know, I was on a show the other day and there were, you know, 2 or 3 people, and that's not a lot again in hindsight, but were saying like they didn't understand that why I was going to be at a Man United game based on what I saw against Chelsea. That for me is not a supporter. If you don't like the example that things aren't rosy like they were at the start of the year, and you decide to not turn up or make it hostile, the reality is our stadium is unfortunately a library. It shouldn't be. It wasn't. I only had the privilege to be a season ticket holder for 1 year at the old White Hart Lane before it was closed down, and I don't remember it unfortunately. But I've got the programs, but what I can remember is how good the atmosphere was. There would be people telling me if I look back at videos are taken by my family. So yeah, the price is extortionate. If I'm honest with you, like I get myself a part-time job that literally funds the football. It's incredible how much it is, of course, but for me, I'll make sure that I pay it either way because for me, it means a lot to support the club. And I think we have to have conversations, not just Spurs fans, but as a wider Premier League and football conversation. Like, should you be leaving as early as some fans leave when things go wrong? Can you stay to the end and support the team? Because the reality is Tottenham concede against United, it's absolutely flat, and that doesn't help the team. And I get the team isn't helping the fans. It's like a vicious cycle. You know, Tottenham concede, the boos start, the pressure's on Vicario to play long, and it's just it kind of never ending when we go behind. And for me, it's not a secret or it's not like a coincidence that the home form's bad, because the atmosphere is terrible. We're not playing different football. I think we're trying to cater, playing different away from home than we do at home, which is a big problem. Frank's trying to fan please for me because of the pressure that we have to play a certain way. So for me, it's frustrating. I don't like to talk too much about it, but I do think it's a little bit blown up. I get the prices are an issue. I don't think that solves Tottenham's problems, put it that way. I think we need to simply look at ourselves as fans and go, sing more. I think sometimes we try and find this big solution, whereas I think if we just go, sing more, stay to the end, back your team, stop throwing your toys at the pram when things go wrong, I think we find ourselves in a lot better situation. Of course, easier said than done, but I just think we need more support. You know, the name is supporter, and our fans are fantastic, but very quick to turn, to cry, to whinge when things don't go our way.
Yeah. Interesting. I will move the show on because we did come here to talk about the match. Let me bring you in, Adrian, as I know you were there. 32 minutes. Once again, errors at the back. We failed to clear the ball. I'd put my own comment. Man of the match, and Mbeumo converts the yellow cross. No pressure on the ball. No pressure on Mbeumo's to head the ball into an empty net. Nice goal if you're a Man United supporter. Shocking for a Spurs fan.
Yeah, shocking defending. It was all too easy, wasn't it? Even though the cross had to come for us, but like once it was going to him, he was going to score. He had the whole goal basically. Said it took. I mean, it was poor. We've given away some sloppy goals recently. I mean, the second goal was sloppy as well. I'm sure you get onto that. Who's supposed to be marking who? You know, we've seen it before in the past, don't we? When you get like one of your small players is marking a 6'4" giant. You know what I mean? I mean, like it's just ridiculous, right? So I don't know who was supposed to be marking Mbeumo. He's a handful. We handled him quite well through most of the game, even though he had a good game. But yeah, I mean, like it was shocking. And then now it's the old uphill battle, like, you know, now like, oh, now you're thinking, right, we've got to score 2 to win this, right, or more. And to me, I just thought that both teams first half, if you're a neutral fan watching that game, it's a dirge until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, I thought both teams cancel themselves out. Both teams are nowhere near Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. You know, I posted on Alice's her site actually because she's a Man United fan, but she does good unbiased comments on all games, doesn't she? So yeah, and I just thought it was boring, but I actually thought the atmosphere was quite good. I thought it was good. I thought it was good for the game. And you know, with one goal in it, you're always in it. You get the equaliser, you think good. You'd have took the draw being 1 down to that late stage in the game, but then when you get second goal. Now you're getting greedy. You want the win.
Hang on,
Oh, go on.
whoa. Okay, Adrian's just finished the game, and delete equalised in the last minute. I just want to thank all of you for watching. Slow down. Okay, Tom, what you managed to catch on the highlights, but I mean, I can remember a sloppy back pass in the first minute and the ball going behind. They didn't even show that on Match of the Day for ball going behind for a corner. Beyond that, Tom, we never looked like scoring in that first half.
No, I mean, Richarlison had a complete airhead. I don't know how he, air shot for when you miss it with your feet, but airhead when you miss it with your head when you should really score, isn't it? And he is an airhead in some ways, but created very little, deserved very little in that first half. I think the frustrating thing for me with their goal was, when I watched the highlights, it was the fact that it come from us being really sloppy with the ball again, like a silly pass, I think, from Pape. And then, to be honest, even their, not to do an Adrian and go all the way to their second goal, but even that was a poor pass from Bentancur to give them back possession, and then a silly corner. So feels like we're still a few things that are our own undoing, but not much to write home about in that first half at all.
No. Harry, your own thoughts?
Yeah, I think that first half was difficult. I think we were deservedly, unfortunately, behind. And I think in this game, it wasn't necessarily who scored most that had the biggest impact. It was when. I think our blessing was that, United scored quite early because it allowed Tottenham time to think, to get that half-time team talk. We come out after the second half better, although, it wasn't perfect. We were better. And, I blasted the home atmosphere tonight and been maybe harsh, but Adrian's right. It was better, but it's only when we scored. That is the problem for me. But anyway, it was generally better, which is good to see. And I think the team come out with a little bit of purpose, a little bit of fight, attacking intent, a bit like Copenhagen. But before that, we haven't really seen it. So, I mean, that's good. And I'm not one of those fans that goes, look, I think we should play a certain way. For me, it's all about winning football matches. But there's no secret about it. If you're behind in a game and you're passing the ball a bit quicker, you show a bit more energy, a bit more intent, you're working together, and you're just generally more attacking, move up the pitch slightly, then you have more chance of scoring goals. It's as simple as that. But that first goal to concede was just proper frustrating, avoidable. Could have cleared our lines. So much more we could have done. But I think it's key that United scored, if this makes sense, before the break rather than after. It allowed Frank to probably assess it quickly and give the players a team talk. And I haven't seen this come out a half like that. That different drastically from the first to the second.
Well, that brings me beautifully on then to half time. Those of you that were there would have seen Odobert warming up quite intensely and not in the dressing room. So it was obvious he was coming on. I think the surprise, though, Adrian, let me bring you in on this. Would he come on for Muani? But I don't think we realise, and we will talk about that injury and its implications later, but I don't think any of us had any inkling that Muani was so badly hurt he wasn't going to be back out for the second half.
Yeah, I don't think they knew the full extent of his injury at that time, but that he had to come off. He must have been in pain with that broken jaw, right? But they didn't know it was broken jaw at the time. Plus, he wasn't great, but then, first half, both teams cancelled out. Neither side were that great, were they? I mean, it's a pretty tepid affair.
No.
And so he comes off. And the thing is, half-time fans should, they should know. I mean, I thought, my first reaction to going over was, he went, Muani's off. I said, well, I ain't taking him off, let's say it's happened. Because we see what he could do against Copenhagen. So I said, something's amiss here. So, mate, and they said, perhaps he's got a knock. I didn't think it was his jaw. So we all think, yeah, perhaps it's a knock. If you're going to take anyone off, you take Richarlison off, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I think that was the change everybody would have anticipated.
And so a lot of the crowd, then what happened was, because of the change, I think a lot of the crowd booed, didn't they?
I wasn't happy. I'll be honest, I wasn't happy, and nor was I happy with the substitution of Xavi or Telfort Xavi. That didn't make any sense to me. But in the end, if you're Thomas Frank, you're saying, well, hang on a minute. I made those changes. Those players scored. I made the goals. So what the hell are you moaning at?
Yeah,
But
it's
Harry,
the right change now. Yeah.
Tom may have baby duties to attend to, so he's off at the
I am
moment.
still here. My camera's just playing up.
Oh, you see, I'm glad I wasn't talking. Should have said, shouldn't I? That Tom, he's bloody useless. I bring him on and then he just disappeared. Yeah, Tom, do you want to talk about that halftime substitution? I appreciate you weren't at the game,
Yeah,
so you perhaps.
I sort of saw on X that everyone was sort of having a bit of a meltdown. It was a bit surprising to me, but yeah, it does sound like he has now got a fractured jaw and is possibly going to be out until the end of January. So it's a bit of a cursed loan move, isn't it? But so that's not ideal. I think there was a lot of booing. It wasn't booing about Tell coming on from the vibe I got. It was booing about Simmons coming off.
I think that's right.
And I think there's a world where Simmons could have probably been left on and Tell brought on, especially as Tell went into like the sort of number 10 position behind Richarlison. You could, but yeah. At the end of the day, the subsidies made have made a difference. But I think it's fair to say that, I think I saw a stat that Odebear created the most chances in the game despite only playing 45 minutes. And then Udogie created the second most chances in the game despite only playing about 30 minutes. So kind of just shows that we should, on that left-hand side, where possible, always be playing Udogie for that. Or if we're not playing Udogie, then Odebear has to be playing. It kind of needs to be both or at least one. In my opinion, on that left hand side now. The one thing I know, obviously, you're coming on to the Moani thing later, but it does seem like if he is out for a long time, that we should be able to, by the rules of UEFA, sub Tell into that squad now.
I mean, John Cheeseroom, he gave that on that Tell thing. Apparently, in training, the reports I've been hearing was like, he's been smashing goals in for fun in training. The other players are really like geeing him up about it. And we know, well, he and Odebert have been doing in the French under-21s. And now they're beginning to show a bit more, aren't they? I mean, I've got great faith in these two.
There is no doubt in my mind, as someone who's watched football for 60 years, it doesn't give me a monopoly on it, but I just see it, that there is a player there. I just think everything I see. Harry, what do you think? There's a player in Tell? I appreciate he's young. You'll know what it's like to be young, and you've got to get accepted, perhaps with an older audience in a market. No one cares when you're YouTubing whether you're 16 or 60. It's, are you any good? And no one seems to care whether the boy's 19. I think he's still 19, might be 20 now. When he's expecting to be doing the same job as a 25-year-old. If you're out there, you've got to be doing the business.
You're right, and absolutely, and like using myself for example, I'd expect to be given the same harsh treatment. If my content wasn't good, it should be no different because I'm younger. If anything, it's my job to prove why I'm here and why I want to be competing. I think it's the same with Matthias Tell. And the reality is, he's had a good few games. Leads as well, comes on. Starts rather, scores. Hits the bar, looks positive. Comes on this game, gets a goal, and people don't talk about it a lot because it's under 21s level, but it's still significant in my eyes. Tell and Odebear have this unbelievable partnership for France under 21s. And we're not just talking like, a couple of goals here and there. They've got quite a few between them. And in the last international break, I think they wrapped up like, what was it? Between them, it's like 7 goals and 6 assists. It's crazy between them. A lot of them were to each other, which is really impressive. And if you notice, at the weekend, when they both come on together, there was that partnership there, that interconnection, which is great to see. But Frank got his subs absolutely spot on. I think he started wrong with that left-hand side. I think he got that balance wrong. It didn't look right. Spence was hindering us going forward. Richarlison didn't work on the left, unfortunately, either. So I think Frank, we've got to look at it and go, look, mate, you got that wrong. But at the same time, well done, you changed the game, because, Richarlison to stay on would have been unpopular if you asked the majority of Spurs fans. He does score a goal. He brings Wilson Odebear on, who got an assist, safe as far as, and the doggy too, he gets an assist. He brings Tell on, who scores. that. Find me a better example of, of better in-game management than that. I think you'll really struggle to find that so far this season, and I think don't see that changing, put it that way. But no, you're right. It doesn't matter about your age, though. And the reality is Tell has put some really below the par performances in, but we've got to be patient. I hate how people are judged instantly. It's like with Simmons. Like, again, these conversations are, is he right for Tottenham? Just wait. Look at Liverpool with Florian Wirtz. You can sign a great player like that. I think we've got a really good player in Simmons. Just give them time to settle. There has to be an expectation of every player, Ian. That is right. I'm not saying that. The bar has to be there, but you need to give players time. Look at Wilson Odobert. Big injury in his first season last year. He's just 20 years of age. It's good to see him coming good. I think we need to get behind players. That's the job of supporter. I think we're very quick, unfortunately, to jump down players' throat. Give him a little bit of time to embed, to gel, to improve. And Tell, I don't know. I haven't seen him too much before he joined Tottenham at Bayern, but I think there's definitely a player in there. That's why he's in professional football. That's why he's signed for Tottenham. That's why Bayern had him in the first place. But it's a case of, same with Odobert as well, how high is their ceiling? But give him time. I think he's going to score goals this season. He's going to get better. Frank's the right manager to get a lot out of particularly attacking players. Look what we've done with Brentford, Wissam, Obama. Give Frank time. Give Tell time. Give everybody time at the club. This is, a new manager. Things are going to take time. Of course, we want to be up here now, but we need to be patient. And Tell's a good example of that.
Yeah, Adrian, you want to comment on that? I mean, I've said on this show on more than one occasion that, when I was a kid, players were given, you bought a player, and I got told when we bought Martin Chivers, I was 7 or whatever. But he'll take a year to settle in, son. And that was the expectation. Now, if a player comes in and doesn't do the business in 3 matches, he's a complete waste of time and a complete waste of money. Odebert's showing.
Well, what hasn't helped us?
Quality player.
Yeah, what hasn't helped us is that apart from the fact we're a very young side anyway. Now Sonny's gone, Kane's gone, and Reece has gone. What hasn't helped is like back in the day, and when we were watching the team, they would bring 1 player in. You had the other 10 players to carry them if they didn't do well. At times we've thrown 4 in. We've thrown Odobert in with Tell, and even Simmons. I'm confident all 3 players will come good, but I understand our fans' frustration and angst because we want instant gratification, instant success all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure these players will be fine for us. Kudus is the only one who come hit the ground running, but he was already proven, wasn't he? Premier League proven, and the others aren't. And if you play them all, seen signs in more signs in Simmons recently that he's finding more space. He wasn't hanging on the ball too much and finding the passes, and the little half turns and flicks. His vision and touch is superb. It's superb, right? And with Tell, technically, he's better than Richarlison. He's better than Richarlison. I don't care what anyone says.
Adrian, I'm better than Richarlison.
But now's a chance for, we'll see now that Scarlett and Tell are going to get their chance now, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, there was a comment in Destiny's.
They'll fight for the second spot behind Richarlison. Tell Scarlett will.
But Adrian, I think it was Destiny's comment earlier that I did put up on the screen that Dane Scarlett's Harry Kane moment has arrived. This is the time now for Dane Scarlett to show he can step up and be a Tottenham centre forward.
If he's picked, that little cameo he did against Copenhagen to win the penalty and all that, I thought showed more aggression. He's bulked up since I first see him as a 17-year-old. He can finish. I doubt he'll have a career at Tottenham, but he'll have a good football career. Everyone comes through that academy and probably end up a millionaire. So, but we'll see. But if he suddenly comes in and smashes it, then he's got a chance of having a career with Spurs, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Lisa, I have to tell you, he's young enough to be your son. He's young enough to be my grandson. So that's why we have him on, because he's always got something.
And we'll have to get you on, Lisa, as well.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, Lisa, she keep. It's like a girl I'm trying to date. She's always busy that night. But I'm used to that now, Lisa. So one night you come on the show, which will be great to have you. Tom. Let's move us on, because we want to talk about that last 10 minutes, and then I do want to talk about these injuries and the stuff as we go ahead. all of a sudden, though, we started at least to be hitting the target. Shots from Romero and Polina saved by Lamens, but we were at least for the first time. I mean, we're into the the 50 odd minutes by now. We're at least starting to knock on the door, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. We finally had a bit of width on both sides of the pitch, and players who were willing to take on their men and try and put balls into the box. And it seems like when the team got the wind up there in their sail a little bit, and then the crowd got the wind in their sail, and that was it. It was sort of like a match made in heaven, and it kind of propelled everything forward a little bit with that. But I think, personally, think Romero probably should have done a little bit better with his charts. Polina's was, just a wild swing at it in the box, good to get it on target and through Harry Maguire's legs first. But I wouldn't say in either sense the keepers had to make a world-class save for either of those. But, we started creating, and that was refreshing.
No, Adrian, I mean, you were there, and that's why I'll bring you in on this. You look at that and you looked at match of the day and thinking, they're building up to Tottenham scoring. But it didn't really feel like that at the game, did it?
We had a few. I mean, it's like we got into threatening positions, but nothing was happening. You think, where's the goal going to come from? Where's I like to see three in the box. Midfield runner. Your centre forward and like one of the wingers coming in on the far post, whether it's Johnson or Odegaard on the other side. And when we do get into a lot of threatening positions, why aren't there people in the box? Why aren't there at least two in the box for someone to put a cross into? Why isn't the fullback on the other flank or the winger on the other flank, why aren't they down there getting the ball across? So, or coming into the far post, and where's the player outside the box? The other midfielder outside the box, wait in case the ball comes out and they can get a shot off. It's like every time someone gets around the penalty area, the crowd are always shouting shoot.
Yeah.
Which is quite
I need
amusing.
Stevie Perryman for that number of shots that he had from 18 to 22 yards from waiting on the edge of the box there.
Did score two against Milan, Ian?
I was there.
I was there.
Against
Milan.
Yeah, I was there. And Soliano got sent off. I think the first time I ever saw a player get sent off. Harry, we finally get Udogie, who comes on for Porro on the left. Spence goes right. But suddenly we look like we're him and Odegaard, complete change on that left, as you were alluding to early. It might have taken a while, but 67 minutes, we get Udogie and Odegaard on that left-hand side, and suddenly we're a threat down that side.
We are, and it's just, maybe it just seems quite obvious now, and again, hindsight is important. Porro, I really like, but I don't think this is one of his best games. He just lacked that. With Porro, you can go however good you are, however bad you are, I should say, defensively at times, or you not at your races, because that is his weakness is defensively, but in particular 1v1 battles. I think just struggles at concentration defensively and just awareness. His positioning for me is a little bit of a problem. But his crosses offensively are good. He didn't have that in this game, which was a shame. His passes went astray. His crosses weren't quite right. And don't get me wrong, Richarlison, you have to constantly put balls in the box, and he will score probably 1 out of 10, being kind. But at the same time, Porro's deliveries just weren't all that at the weekend. So Udogie coming on made sense. Spence going to right back, and where he's a lot better. And did you notice in Spence, and he wasn't on for long, but at right back, how much better he was going forward? You didn't get to see him there for long. It's just because he's naturally that side, and Spence has to check back inside. He can't cross. Spence, I don't think he's good at crossing anyway, but if he's on that left-hand side, he gets to a point where he has to turn and he goes backwards. Simmons, I think, does that purely because of confidence and the speed and physicality of the Premier League. I think with Spence as well, just because he's not natural that side. So when we're starting, I know Xavi's in the 10, but he moves over to the left-hand side. You've got Spence there, then you've got Richarlison there. None of those players want to be there. That's the problem we've got. So that left-hand side was just catastrophic. And then you've got, United's players, they're really dangerous in and around Cunha and Mbeumo interchanging, finding dangerous positions. So for me, Frank got that wrong. The blessing in disguise was United still can't sort out their striker problems. They're still not what I call totally clinical yet. And don't get me wrong, they took the goal well, but we talk about Mbeumo, not the tallest player that has to go in the box. Sesko hasn't really clicked for him yet. Of course, come off injured, but he did come on. So that left-hand side was a problem. This change was really positive, and Udogie having the real impact. I still think he needs to improve Udogie, but he's a player that I really like to watch, and I don't watch, and I didn't even when he was there, much Italian football. But when I found out he was joining, I made an effort to watch Udinese, and he's really impressive. He scores more goals than people would think, gets more assists as well. He was like a left winger, he felt, if you watch Udinese and didn't know his position. So I think he should be Tottenham's starting left back now. And this is nothing against Spence. He's been fantastic, and I think there's serious competition that right back slot. Tom's spot on. We need to find another left-sided left back. Ideally, they could play left centre back too, but I think I might be asking for too much.
Yeah, I mean, if we got another left-sided player, let's bring you in on this, Adrian. I mean, a lot of people have talked about playing Van de Ven at left back, stroke left wing back. You're shaking your head. You don't see that.
No, because we know where he's best. We know where he's best. And what Udogie gives you on the left, he gives you width. He gives you width because if you're right-footed there, you're going to cut in. Now, I like Spence. I'm not knocking Spence. Play him on the right. Fans ain't seen him. They've got on higher because I always played on the left. He should start. He said, no. And to give you an example, it's a question of shape. All right, I've said it before. You could be Spence on the left, right-footed, and you can play against an inverted winger, and it can work because you're leaning him to the right way. But I still go back. The reason I say this, I just go back to the first game we lost at the stadium was against West Ham, 1-0. And Vertonghen was injured, so Alderweireld was playing as left centre back, and Antonio done him and scored the goal. Now, so you're a centre back and you're right-footed, right? You're going to lean in this way because you're right-footed. If you're left-footed, you're going to lean in this way. Your body shape's different, and that's why whatever your foot is, that's the position I want you to be in. If you're left-footed, left side. If you're right-footed, right side. And it's the balance as well. Now, it may work. You may get an inverted winger coming at you, but that's your position anyway, so deal with it.
Yeah. Are you talking about tactics or the hokey cokey, Adrian? I got confused.
Did you? Well, that's all right. I do that to people.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right, though. Seriously, Tom, let's bring you back. I assume you just got a camera problem, and you're still hearing. Tom.
Yeah, still here.
To Major Tom,
Yeah.
you there?
I'm here.
I mean, the major changes, big changes. I mean, Bentancur for Palhinha, absolutely fine, like for like. But I think the one that shocked us, and I mean, it annoyed me because I thought that was Xavi Simons. Someone touched the.
I don't know what's happening.
Lost the layout. Someone changed the layout. Someone must have touched the layout. Anyway, we're back. Sorry, it was the one that really annoyed me because for me that was Xavi Simons. He played well against Copenhagen, and I thought he was playing really well. And we were starting to see, okay, he's all right foot. It's a pain in the neck when the ball's naturally needs a left-footed pass and he can't play it. But he was starting to show, I thought, the quality player that he was. And I thought he was the most likely route we would have to get back in the game. And the manager subs him. So there was a lot of booing around the stadium for that.
Yeah, it's frustrating because, as you said, he seems to finally be finding his feet a little bit. So you want to give him as many minutes as you possibly can. But I guess at the same time, Thomas Frank is probably playing the long game with this and trying to keep everyone rotated and healthy and things like that. So it is frustrating. I think the thing with Tel is you'll really see, sorry, not Tel, Xavi, you'll really see the better player from him when he's surrounded by other players who are good on the ball as well. He's not a creative player who's going to drop deep like Maddison does, pick up the ball and try and play a longer pass or play things like that. He's a guy who plays in that last 25 kind of yards, those, as we saw against Copenhagen, those short, sharp, quick one-touch passes through players, and linking up with everyone. That's where Xavi Simons has always excelled as a player. But although frustrating, ultimately it paid off. So it's difficult. You can be frustrated at these kind of things, but like the long termism of it is that the decision paid off in the fact of the 2 goals and stuff after he came off. So
yeah. Your take on it, Harry, you were there, and I'll get you as well, Adrian, on this, because as I say, I mean, there's a comment in the chat about it was embarrassing, and I think when you look at it, Thomas Frank was proven 100% right, because Tell's legs, the positioning, his goal, for everything was right.
Yeah, when I saw Xavi Simons come off, for me, it felt, I'm not just saying this, but it's frustrated because, of course, he's this star player, but he wasn't having an impact on the game. And I was thinking, yeah, that seemed right. But I was surprised it was Tell that come on. And I was like, okay, this will be interesting, because I know that Simons is a big sign, and the club hyped it up, rightly so, and we're all excited. So to have him removed in a game where we need a goal and bring on Matthias Tell, who's been short of confidence, I was interested to see how it go down. I didn't think it'd be that bad. But Frank proved in this game, as managers often do, while they're the manager and we're not. Because if I'm being totally honest with you, although I probably agree with that change at the time, I didn't agree with leaving Richarlison on. And I've been, jumping to his defence quite a few times. But the reality is he struggled in that game. I wouldn't have kept him on, if I'm honest with you. I think I tweeted, bring Scarlett on for Richarlison. We were losing this game. He come on and made an impact against Copenhagen. Give Scarlett a chance. He sticks with Richarlison, and how much it impacts the goal, I leave that up to you to decide. But he scores that goal in the end, which I think Wilson Odobert deserves a lot of credit for. So Frank's the manager. I've never seen. I mean, I see like players come on and make an impact, etc., etc. But we talk about 2 managers here in Amorim and Frank. The in-game management in this game couldn't be more different. Amorim brings off Casemiro, which was catastrophic and self-destructing because Ugarte just couldn't settle into the game. And for us, I mean, like I said, a doggy, Tell, making an impact. Everywhere you look, Odobert as well, bring Richarlison on. There's 4 different players that Frank made a decision either to bring on or to keep on that worked. So, yeah, of course, it's frustrating for Simons that he's reacted now a couple of times to coming off. And, some would look at that and go, that's because he wants to do well, and you hope it's that. And, he's frustrated, maybe because he knows he's not reaching up here, or he feels that he can do, or maybe he's feeling like he's having an impact on the game. Copenhagen, it was so frustrating because he's having an impact. And people had to criticise that. But at the same time, Paulinho comes on, gets a goal and assist, and we become stable, and we counter-attack and play differently. And for me, we get that result, in terms of a bigger margin because Frank makes those changes. So there's 2 ways to always look at it. But also with Simons, some people go, we'll be worried about his attitude. I had a couple of people I spoke to at the stadium were like, oh, we worry about his attitude. And I'm thinking, I said to them, I hope you're not right. I think hopefully it's more a case if he wants to do well, and when he's doing well, he's frustrated to come off. That's what we want to see. Hasn't been the rosiest start to his Spurs career, but is it really going to be when you come to a new language? You can't speak much English. New league, new manager, new system. Everything about it is new. It's quite daunting for still Simons, who's a young player. He's a young, special player. So I think we give him time, but he wouldn't have liked coming off. No attacking player likes coming off when your team needs a goal. Nobody.
No, that's good points, Harry. Really good points. Adrian, I'll bring you in. It's not something I've done a banner for, but we talk about Tottenham and Tottenham's changes. But whether it was, Maguire had certainly got a knock, but they had to bring off Maguire and Casemiro. And I thought that made a big, big difference to the look of them and suddenly the solidity of them, or lack of it, in midfield and in the back.
Well, we were sort of getting a grip on the game. So I can see why. And I thought they'd make changes. I mean, if you look at Frank, you can, set your watch to 60 minutes. He always makes changes on the 60 minutes and the 70 minutes. And I think he's got most of it right this season. I know we're disappointed with our home form, but it's no fluke here when you're unbeaten away from home tactically and you've got the best away record in the Premier League. That's not a fluke. The manager knows what he's doing. If we were getting hammered in them away games, you could argue it. All right, at home, we've been hindsight critics, haven't we? We give him a harsh critique for the Chelsea game, didn't we? Substitutions. And it's easy to do it when you're a hindsight critic. I mean, we criticise when we do and we praise when we praise.
100% right. 100% right. And I'm
And
the
he
first
got
to hold
it
my
right
hands
in
up.
this game. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of Richarlison. I want him, Basuma, and Davies gone to make room for better players. Well, not that Davies hasn't been a good servant in this club. He's been excellent. But yeah, I mean, like Man United, they make their subs. I thought, I said to the guy next week, we could get this. I even said to him, we could win this game, you know. He
Yeah.
give me the
Well,
usual mad look.
Hey, while I've got you, then let's talk about this last crazy 10 minutes. We all know what happened, and anyone old enough to remember the '79 Cup final, it was a sort of similar game. Arsenal were 2 up and absolutely cruising. All of a sudden, Man United scored 2 goals, and it's
And then
2-2
Alan
in the
Sunderland
go
got the
extra
winner.
time. And Alan Sunderland pops up in the last minute of normal time, and Arsenal win the cup 3-2.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Ian. And
Sorry?
the fan base. Thanks for reminding the Spurs fan base of that.
Yeah, it was just such a lousy game, and this wasn't. No one's going to say, Shearer. Apparently, I didn't see it. I just watched highlights, but apparently, analysing the game, said it was a game really for Spurs. Man United was a game lacking real quality, and that was probably right. But look, we can always come on to that. But let's keep the show moving. Tell turns De Ligt really, really well. Good first touch, good turn. Right foot shot, deflects off. I don't know where that ball was going, but it does. It deflects off De Ligt and into the net. 1-1.
Yeah, it was a lovely goal. It was a lovely goal. I think it was still going in anyway.
Yeah,
the slight deflection helped. Yeah, I mean, and he's been doing this all in training. Apparently, I think that's probably why Frank's put him on. When someone's hot, you put him on, didn't you? And I was so pleased for him as well. He's got a couple of goals for us before, penalty, and I can't remember the games now.
Tom, let's bring you back. I mean, you watch him picking up as you go along. I mean, I think a lot of us, we were all over the moon when the ball went in, but I don't think this wasn't, again, one where we're pounding the goal, shots going in. I don't remember the goalkeeper having, there was the 2 shots I mentioned, but he wasn't, diving across his goal and stuff like that all game as we were knocking on the door. We just weren't, till all of a sudden, the changes were made, the changes came together, and bang, we're suddenly back into a game. You think, well, finish 1-1, we'll all be happy. Tom, Mike.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. If you look at the stats from the game, neither team created over, if you like, XG or not, but neither team created over 1 XG. Like, we were both under. So 2-2 is definitely both teams outperforming how they statistically kind of performed. From watching it, like on my phone, it did seem that every time I was cursing my eyes back to the screen, that the ball was always in United's half. We was always on the attack in that, especially that last sort of 20 minutes or so. So I do feel like in terms, we were starting to get on top of them, especially when those subs were made, or especially when Udogie came on to link up with Odegaard. Like, you definitely then started to see a lot more chances coming in. And like the Tell goal, what Tell did there is everything. And I'm not meaning this to like bash Richarlison with a stick, but he literally, everything Tell did was everything you wouldn't expect Richarlison to be able to do. Took a fantastic first touch to take the ball away from the defender, and then a turn and shot. And yes, okay, it got a deflection, but he still had to get the shot off. He still had to get it on target. And lucky things comes to those who try, right? So, Richarlison, what Richarlison is good at is what he did with his goal. Instinct, like instinctive actions towards the ball. If Richarlison's got time to think about it, then less so. But Tell really showed some maturity and some quality on the ball there. And I hope that gives him a shot of confidence now to play a few more games and do even more for us in a Spurs shirt. And he's only 19, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And it was on Destiny just said something. I love Destiny, but to me it was on target because
Oh yeah.
the deflection took it a little bit wider of the goalkeeper,
Well-
slightly wider, but it was on target. The shot was on
Yeah,
target.
he wouldn't be accredited with the goal if it wasn't on target.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's still
certainly
his
wasn't
goal.
going nowhere. It's whether it was going straighter at the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper might have stopped it. The deflection. I think,
100%.
killed it.
It would have been going more within the goalkeeper's range to be able to have made a save. Whether or not he would have saved it, who knows? Possibly, probably. But doesn't matter. It's got in.
The key moment, and there's about someone actually in the chat that said there about Vicario didn't have anything to do apart from the save from Sesko. A couple of minutes after the goal, Sesko goes through one-on-one. Van der Ven makes an amazing tackle. But Sesko is injured. He's clearly done. Harry, do you want to come in on this? United have used all their, and always the danger of using your 5 subs at that time, and I think they had to. Sesko's off, and all of a sudden we're playing for what turned out to be, I think, 9-10 minutes against 10 men with the initiative.
Yeah, exactly. And for United, of course, that isn't ideal, but I can't stress enough how poor Ruben Amorim's in-game management is. And Casemiro, I think, proves you're not the only one, but I think he's vital to the defence. We know that Amorim has this weird obsession with changing the centre-back mid-game. I think Maguire was injured, so that'd be a reason for this. But I read a crazy stat that, over 95% of the games that Ruben Amorim has managed that they've changed the centre-back in game. I mean, could you just imagine us for a minute taking Romero off and putting Danso on, for 25, 30 minutes of every single game? It just doesn't happen. It'll come at the end if we try and hold out on a game or Romero's played a lot of games or he's just come back from injury. But this is a really rare thing. It disrupts the rhythm, whether it's playing people on side. And I've done a very brief analysis of the game myself before my own podcast tomorrow. And what was really interesting is the whole United line changed when Maguire come off and Euro went on. And Euro's a really good young player, by the way, great centre-back, but they just moved higher up the pitch. Yeah. And I just think that allowed the likes of Tell a little bit more time to turn and to score that goal. And obviously that second goal allows Odegaard a little bit more time because they come a little bit narrow without Casemiro. They seem a bit worried they come narrow. Also, Amad Diallo is an interesting one because he played a couple of different positions in the game and I think he's a lot better further forward. And there's some weird things that Amorim does. Anyway, I think it was, always suicidal, some of the things that United did do in this game, but it wasn't their fault that they lost Sesko through injury. It wasn't anyone's fault. It's one of those unfortunate things in football. I think Amorim, if he had the opportunity again, would still make, those 5 changes. I think any manager would, but I just think he got it wrong. Ugarte, someone who hasn't had many minutes, looked lethargic, looked tired, didn't look right, didn't settle into the game. They missed Casemiro massively. They changed. They made well. I knew they had a problem when they changed 3 changes at once. Very rarely works in football. Different if you're losing the game, chasing the game, you can take the risk, but he got it wrong.
Tom, I mean, it's not what I'm going to ask you, but I'll just say, as he was running through one-on-one, I'm thinking, oh Christ, having got back in it, we're about to lose it. But going on to Harry's point, Tom, about Amorim's in-game management. Now, I think Maguire was injured, and however much we malign him, he has real presence, and without him, that back line, you may want to comment on this, Adrian, as well. Without him, that back line suddenly didn't look as solid.
Yeah, 100%. And look, the only reason why Harry Maguire gets the stick he gets is because of how much he cost and the fact that he's at United. That's kind of if he had gone to Liverpool for 40 million and had the career that he's had, he would have been, lauded as one of the best England centre backs we've seen in the modern era. Look, he's not your fancy Van Dijk kind of defender or your fancy kind of almost like Romero defender in terms of the passing and stuff, but he gets the job done. He helps stop the ball in the back of the net and he can put it in the back of the net at the other end. He's just, unfortunately for him, being at United and costing 80 million, it's always going to be kind of given a bit of stick with regards to that. But how many times has he saved United, like in terms of coming on late and scoring a goal, and stuff like that? Like numerous times. I mean, there was a time when he was having such a rough time at United. I think it was after his first season he had like a real rough time, and I was actually quite keen for Spurs to sign him when we had Conte as manager, because I thought he would have done really well under Conte and stuff. But
Adrian, I'll bring you in on this one. Someone made a comment about Romero earlier. And this was about,
I
you know,
think,
this is-
I mean, Romero didn't have one of his better games, let's be fair, did he? But at the same time, he's on a yellow. And when he's not having one of his better games, a lot of times I've seen him, he seems to get in his zone when he's on a yellow and he doesn't get a red. He don't get that many reds, but yeah, I mean, I would have took him off on the yellow personally, because I wasn't too worried about Man United, what I saw. I mean, we weren't great, but I thought before the game, their midfield are not the quickest. Their centre-backs aren't the quickest. Can we get a ball at our feet and just get at them? And that's why I thought Simmons did okay. And with Sarr doing the running for the team, thought we're okay. But Romero coming off, he wasn't great, was he, in that game? VDV was better, especially that tackle you mentioned. That was excellent. That could have been a penalty and we could have lost the game, you know? So
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so yeah, I mean, but even at the beginning, what you see, what Romero gives you though, which none of our centre backs gives you, is ball progression, and we've missed that in games when he's not there. And all the centre backs and the full backs look to give him the ball, and he's so calm even when they come and try and close him down. I mean, I think he's our best defender. I know fans will throw pelts at me because they love VDV, but I think he's our best defender by far.
All right, Harry, let me bring you in on this then. I thought yesterday that was one of his performances when I'm watching him, when I think he's a liability. I think the sooner he gets off the pitch, the better. Because I think I mean, my comment was he's thinking now about whether he's in seat 1A or 2A on the flight to Buenos Aires today. I think he totally zoned out of the game.
It's a good point. I'm not going to shut it down completely. To me, there's two sides to it, and I'm going to be quite balanced. And I hate sitting on the fence. But
that's what this show's about.
Well, all it is, Ian, is that I agree with you, and I was just heart in mouth every time Romero was near the ball. We just felt like he was on the edge, nearly going to get a red. But at the same time, it's been quite a few games before he actually did last get a red. I believe it was Chelsea in that crazy 4-1 game. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone that does know. But I've told that the other day, I think, and that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I agree with that comment, from Destiny, that he was kind of looking for a red. That's what it felt like, you know, he was a bit on the edge. But at the same time, after he got booked, and then he had one more where he's warned when I thought, oh no, I don't know what's going to happen here. He was warned, that was it. But after that, don't get me wrong, a couple of tackles he put in, but they were spot on with Romero. And you could just tell the rest of the game, it looked like he was disinterested. I think that's what we might be talking about, Ian. It looked like he was on that plane, ready for Argentina, international break. I think when he was on a yellow, that's not Romero's game. He's defending hands behind the back the whole time. And he kept pointing for someone to cover. I'd rather him do that though than go and fly into a tackle. But yeah, he certainly played on the edge. But that's Romero. That's Argentinian footballers, and that's why we love them when they're for our team. But for me, ultimately though, I know that he had to come off in the end. And I like Danso, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, Romero's job, defender's job, whatever, Frank said it doesn't have an impact. I get that, but still, he's a defender. We need him defending set pieces, and of course, what we can see from him is really, really poor. And it has to be fingers pointed at who's meant to be marking De Ligt. But that's I can't stress enough, and I don't want to jump ahead of it, Ian. But if you come to me in a bit about that goal, that is just so frustrating. And I mentioned suicidal with United and Amorim. This goal to concede is poor for a good defensive side.
Yeah. Tom, let me bring you. Let's go to happier things. I'm going to talk about Romero all night. He just annoyed me. 90 minutes plus 2. Audebert is inside onto his right foot. Shoots, deflected by. I can describe him as the much maligned Richarlison, and suddenly, with 4 minutes to go of stoppage time, we're going to win the bloody game.
Yeah, I mean, great from Audebert. I think it was going in even without Richarlison's little flick, to be honest with you. But I think what Richarlison just being there, gave the keeper an element of doubt to to dive for it. And, if Richarlison isn't there, then the keeper dives for the shot and he might save it. Whereas Richarlison being there, the keeper's unsure if Richarlison's going to head it back across the goal or get the little flick on. So irrespective of whether or not Richarlison's flick had, him being in that position and being ready to take it on, definitely did keep the keeper rooted to his spot. But it was a great technique from Odobert. Good to see him actually take on the shot as well. And yeah, you are thinking just 90th minute or stoppage time. You're thinking, yeah, okay, keep it solid now, and we've won the game. That I wouldn't say we didn't deserve to win it, but I also wouldn't say that a draw is an unfair result either.
No.
So yeah, it's frustrating. But still, like I said, some positives from the fact that Odobert seems to be getting a lot more confident on the ball and taking things on.
I mean, you take that last 15, 20 minutes, Adrian, and there's a lot of positives to take out of it, particularly with Tell, particularly with Odobert, and even Richarlison getting on the score sheet.
Yeah, I mean, and you can look at it another way, can't you? I mean, although we miss Kulusevski and Maddison, right, this has given these young players a chance. They wouldn't have been getting the game time they've had if it wasn't for that. So that's a positive. I thought that, I don't know, when Vicario's been like a well beater recently, and then like the marking for the second goal, Johnson.
Well, I'll come on to that in a second.
Oh, go on.
I'll come on to that. Let's just keep talking about the goal. I'm going to come on to the goal for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on the goal? If not, I'll just bring Harry in and we'll move on.
Bring Harry in. It was a soft goal conceded. It was sloppy.
Yeah. Harry, you want to talk about our second goal first, or move on to the... Because there's a lot of criticisms of, it's the last kick of the game, 90 minutes, 96 is already on the clock. This is pretty well the last kick of the game. Let's talk about it. There's not much else to talk. Ball goes far post. De Ligt, I said, had the last laugh, having deflected the Tell shot for our first goal. I mean, I had a good angle on it from your seat, Tom. You could see you didn't need any referee signal to see it was well over the bar. Let me bring you in on this, Harry, then, because I'm moving on. We'll talk about injuries and then injuries, and we'll talk about what we might need to do in the transfer window now with the number of injuries we've got. But Vicario, again, I know you say Willie was blocked, but, again, he doesn't own his box. And I think this is something that came up on your chat, which is why I want to bring you in. On your well, I think it was on your chat group anyway. Do we need to upgrade in goal? I mean, people say, well, bring in Kinski, but I think most of us would say there's no way in the world that Kinski's a first-team goalkeeper. And if we need a goalkeeper rather than a great shot stopper, then goalkeeper is one of the positions we need to upgrade. People in the chat might want to have a view on this as well.
I'll shut that down for the short term. I think we've got a lot of problems and holes in our team, and it's not the goalkeeper for me that's the problem. The goalkeeper is the reason that we're sitting here and we're even inside the European places. And there's no joke and no secret about it. We'd have less points on the board in the Premier League or the Champions League if we started any other goalkeeper. It's literally as simple as that. And you say Vicario again, you're right with kind of how he's handles his box. But he single-handedly, more than one occasion this season, kept us in the game. So as far as I'm concerned, Vic is the number one for the foreseeable future. And I do mean that. He has to answer questions, of course, on this goal. But I'm surprised not a lot of people have talked about it as well for the first goal. I don't think he should necessarily be getting to it, but, he's sees it late maybe, but there's not much of a reaction there. But the second goal is poor because, do you know what? He saves that. If he's 2 yards further forward, he saves it. He's got it. I honestly think he's got it. He pushes it onto the bar, but he's just a little bit deeper. And that comes into the whole thing in terms of, players crowding the goalkeeper. Does it work? Does it not? It does, because Vicario's gone back. He hasn't been strong enough. And you're right. He doesn't command his box. But shame on the players, unfortunately, because I know it's, again, easier said than done, but it's schoolboy stuff. you've just got yourself. You're so close to a smash and grab win, which you wouldn't have deserved. Let's be honest, but we'd absolutely all taken it. You know, it's at the stadium watching the game. It's one of them, isn't it? You know, you did deserve it, but you'd be laughing about it and talking about it forever. But it's just so frustrating because all you've got to do, for my opinion, is you head it out, you kick the ball out. United maybe just about one more attack, probably not, and the whistle goes. It's just those fine margins of football that's cost Tottenham 2 points in this game. It's just heartbreaking to see. But to be fair, United would have deserved something out of the game. But yeah, low quality game, great finish, poor way to concede. Why is De Ligt free? We know his heading ability. It's been a big part of his career. He should never, ever be free in the box. And I know we do zonal marking, which is a load of rubbish in itself, but it's really poor marking from that corner.
Sure. Tom, question in the chat. Why is Johnson marking De Ligt? I mean, I know we zone mark now. I don't know what the zonal marking. I never saw a zone score a goal in its life. But surely you've got to make sure that, without excuse me, Maguire there, you've got to make sure that a big guy is on their big guys. They're two central defenders. They're big, they're two big central defenders. They haven't really got much. I'm trying to think who else. No, really. I mean, if you're going to lose the ball without Maguire there, De Ligt and the other centre half, whose name I've forgotten, the one with the long hair. Harry, you mentioned him. What's his name?
Euro.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, who else is gonna score a headed goal? So we've got enough big players of ourselves. Van der Ven, we've got Danso was there. We've got Richarlison. We've got Tell. We've got plenty of players. Even if you just jump and lead into the player so he doesn't get a clean header. De Ligt gets such a clean header, Tom, that and beaten at the near post. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, frustrating. Yeah, I can't understand why you would have Brennan Johnson marking their biggest aerial threat. And like the thing is as well, one, I don't understand why you would do it, but also why has Johnson he's just not even looked at where De Ligt is running. Like they're jostling with each other, and then all De Ligt does is just peel off the back, and Johnson's just ball watching. Like it's absolutely poor. Like in terms of man marking, and then Vicario is behind the goal line. That's just ridiculous. Like coming across, and actually he's not even being blocked off. I'm like watching the goal now on my phone. Like he gets blocked off when the ball first comes in, but actually there's a good 2-3 second period where the ball's going through the air where he's not even being blocked off and he can easily get across to that post. I just the zonal marking, it's us as fans will go, I don't understand zonal marking and stuff, but every team does it, so there's clearly like a benefit to it. But the problem is that with the zonal marking, for us, it seems like there wasn't anyone in that zone. That was all man marking at that back post. The zonal marking was coming in the first area. Looking at it now on the replay and pausing it, literally everyone is man marking, and then you've got Danso, Jed Spence, and Richarlison, who are basically doing zones within the first sort of half of the half, if that makes, of the 6-yard box, if that makes sense. So yeah, bit bizarre. Just a lack of concentration. I generally think if Johnson actually just sticks with De Ligt, it makes that header a lot harder for him, and he possibly doesn't get it on target. He might still get it on target, even if Johnson doesn't win the ball, but just actually stick with him. The other thing on it as well that's quite clever from a United perspective is that Luke Shaw isn't even concentrating on wanting to play the ball. All he does is block Bentancur, who would have actually been in that area to try and win the ball. And we know Bentancur's pretty good in the air as well. So United have done well in terms of, blocking runs and stuff. But you could actually reasonably say that Luke Shaw was actually using his arms to hold Bentancur back, and that potentially could be classified as a foul if you want to get really pedantic about it. But no, it's frustrating. I think the most frustrating thing for me as someone who played in goal was just Vicario just seemed completely unaware of where he was, which is just ridiculous for a goalkeeper. And Vicario, for me, if he is having to make save after save after save after save, he is fantastic. But if he goes for periods of time where he's not having to do anything, he just seems to make silly little mistakes. And that's, if we're going to be a team that's going to be dominating football, that becomes a bit of a problem moving forward. But I agree with Harry that we have at least 4 or 5 other positions that I would be worrying about first before worrying about Vakari. It's frustrating. If we could put Kinski's kind of kicking and almost bravery to go and collect the ball into Vicario, that would be perfect. But
beautiful.
Yeah.
Adrian, before that's us on the game, I'm going to move on to other things around the club. Going to probably run for another 10 or 15 minutes, guys. So that's for you.
All right, I'll give the channel a plug. And the first thing I want to say, I'd like your comments on the referee, because I thought it was crap with some of the free kicks we didn't get, they got, and all that. The referee's standard this year, I think, has been pretty poor. But for the 65 of you viewers on various platforms, welcome. If you are not subscribed to our channel and you like our content, please give the video a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm. Please subscribe to the little red square in the bottom right-hand corner. It says subscribe, because it helps the algorithm as well. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on XCOM. We have got a WhatsApp group you can join if we get your details, and we invite you to be guests on the show. I want to thank everyone in the chat for their comments and their questions.
1,000,000%.
Big up to everyone who watches on playback, and with that, back to you, Ian.
Yeah, no, it is. And the comments from the chat, I've highlighted quite a lot because it's been good. Right, let's unfortunately get on to this. I don't think any of us in the ground yesterday had a clue that this was, Moani was injured 6 to 8 weeks, and if he requires surgery, which presumably he'll be examined over the next couple of days, and we'll find out. Being Tottenham, he'll need 6 to 8 weeks, and 6 to 8 weeks after his surgery, so he'll be 3 months out. But last word on Spurs this afternoon. Injuries: Randall Kolo Muani, Mohamed Kudus, Kota Takai, Dominic Solanke, Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Ben Davis, Yves Bissouma, Radu Dragusin, James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski. We're cursed. I've said this before, but I mean, that's actually not that bad a team we're putting out. I mean, how do you cope with that? I mean, where do you start, Harry, with this level of injuries?
It's not ideal, of course it's not, and we need to find the root cause of it, but I don't like to use it as an excuse, but instead of explanation as to why Frank's taken a more defensive approach. I think as fans and as a club, I think we've gone through a lot of injuries, but I think there's also been a bit of a smokescreen and a bit of a cover-up, because I think, I was one of those under Ange going, wait till the players get back, wait till the players get back. I think we're worse. Genuinely, at times, I think we're worse when they were back and had a full-strength team. Really, look at Ipswich is a good example. That game we lost, that was of a full-strength team, not one player out in that game. So I think it's a little bit of a double bluff almost in terms of how it looked. But there's no two ways about it. Kulusevski in particular, I think people forget how important he was. To me, Tottenham's best player the first half of last season before he got injured. I think he's key and he's versatile, and I think could be really good under Frank. But there's one player that I just see being up here, and he has played under Frank, but hasn't for long enough. And Solanke, we put so many balls into the box. Where did Solanke find with balls into the box? So I just think it's absolutely perfect, especially with Wani being out, which of course is a shame. I'm thinking, come on, Dom, get back into the team. Or I'm also looking at Scarlett and going, this is your big opportunity. And it comes back to a whole different conversation. When do these young players really get a chance? All listed on the bench, but for numbers. But that's about it. But Ian, the injuries are a problem. But we have got a lot of young, exciting talent. Of course, you've got to be careful with them, make sure they're ready. With someone like Scarlett, I just don't think we get the next Harry Kane. And it might not just be a Tottenham issue, but let's focus on Tottenham. We don't get another Harry Kane because they don't get the opportunity. We need to give, and I know it's difficult, Frank's right, to give someone a run of games, but just like fans have this idea, like Valise is an example, right? Oh, simply not good enough. Well, we hardly really saw him. We just go off what we hear, and maybe what they saw on the training ground. But with Scarlett, whenever I've seen him come off the bench, he's looked okay. And Copenhagen, he looked actually good, I would say. So, you know, for me, when you say, look, you've got injury problems, we need to give him a chance. I just feel like, and it's the same under Range, that we get injury problems, we wouldn't use the academy. And I'm like, you know, don't forget it's there. I know they're not the long-term answer, not the short-term answer, but sometimes you have to, you know, also use them even if they're not ready now. But the injuries aren't ideal, Ian, but every club will suffer them and has suffered them. We've got to look at ourselves. Why are these happening? Can we add more squad depth? That's the problem. It's all self-inflicted in a way.
All right, Tom, let me bring you in on this. And there's a question there from Jimmy I'd like you to incorporate into whatever you say. All last season, everybody's saying it's Ange's, his training methods, it's his high line, hamstrings. It's all Ange's fault. This year, the injuries are at least as bad. We can't bloody blame Ange for that.
No. They're different types
Thanks,
of
Destiny. Oh, no, not that one.
Yeah, there's different type of injuries, though, aren't they? Last year was getting a lot of muscular injuries. This year there's been ACLs and then a lot of contact injuries. Like Moani getting a fractured jaw, like that's no one's fault apart from, you know, the fact that he's had a contact with Harry Maguire and stuff. In terms of like cancelling the loan and replacing January, 6 to 8 weeks, he'll be back in January anyway, so what's the point? You might as well hold on to him, and especially that for me, he's been a bit of a bright spark over the last few weeks in terms of his play and how he's been. Okay, he hasn't got a goal and stuff like that, which obviously you need a striker to get, but he's just all-round play and everything has been quite refreshing to see when you compare it to our other kind of current option up front in Richarlison and stuff at the moment as well. So difficult. Yeah, as Harry said, if Solanke can get himself back fit, that would be great. But yeah, there does seem to be some sort of weird curse over Spurs. Like Randall Kolo Muani, he's never suffered a major injury in his career. Comes to Spurs and gets the deadest of dead legs you could ever get in your life, being out for God knows how long. Then gets his jaw bloody broken. Solanke has never had a major injury and then comes to Spurs and just gets injuries and stuff as well. So it does seem like we have like this weird kind of like hex or curse over us, which is just really infuriating. But it's for me, like that was United's best team, and that was our team with 10 injuries, and for all intents and purposes, we looked like a little bit better towards the end and stuff. So that's refreshing. And I think the problem is, again, like going on to what Harry said, when we get our best players back, we never seem to be that much better anyway. I think it's because we spend so much of time without our best players that they learn one way of playing without the good players there. And then the good players come back and you're trying to change that. You're almost starting again. So, which is, as much of a muchness as it is anyway. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is in terms of that. They've obviously tried to change the whole medical team and everything alongside to that to see if that helps the situation. Obviously, some of these injuries that we got now are ones that started last season anyway. In terms of Dragusin and Kulusevski, and even Maddison was obviously pre-season as well.
Yeah,
frustrating. Just want a fully fit team.
Adrian, I've said no one in the chat has ever said that Ian's off his trolley. Someone should have an exorcism, because it can't do any harm. I know I'm mad, but it can't do any harm.
On the Jimmy Hotspur, I'm keeping Muani. He could have had a hat-trick against Copenhagen.
Yeah,
but the way he brought that ball down and laid it on with one touch and laid it off to Odegaard, that was like Berbatov style. That was Berbatov, and like his quality. And as Tom said, like it's just his vision, his awareness, and he presses and everything else. I would say he's the best striker we've got. He's the best striker we've got, and even better than Solanke. Just technically, an all-round game, quickness, and that he's better. With regard to the injuries, yeah, they can always list 10 injuries, but how many of them players would actually be playing? Would Davis be playing? Would Tokai be playing? Would Dragusin be playing? I mean, we've yet to see what Dragusin's been at the hit and miss. I think there's a player in Tokai. We haven't seen him yet. So it's a bit of, all right, we know that Maddison Kulu would definitely be playing, right? But
Yeah, I mean, you look at that list, and I don't know if that coming up on screen. I think it should. There are 7 players on that list, in all fairness, that would either be starting or on the bench. I can't read them because it's now upside down. But Kulusevski, Madison, Kudos, Solanke, from Dragusin, Gray. I mean, that they are all in the first team or on the bench and rotation, all of them. Maybe Takai not, and 1 or 2 others, Davis not, but the rest of them are absolutely first team and proper rotation as well.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be playing Basuma ever again. I mean,
No,
Davis
Basuma,
to the end of the
forget
season.
Basuma.
Like I say, so at least four or five, and Gray hasn't been given as much game time. I mean, he may get some more now when he's back, but yeah, okay. I'd say 6 of them could be starters. 4 of them wouldn't.
A&E. Sorry, I just had to change the. Have I
That's
lost
fine.
it? Yeah. Well, no, I couldn't resist that A&E Hotspur. I just couldn't resist that. I just think.
Are we any different to have an injury list to other teams? I mean, at least we've got a squad, and it looks like Soko and Dragusin will be, and Solanke will be back. If not late after the international break, if not in early times in Christmas, which would be good.
Yeah.
So we may get to see them.
Are we all saying we wouldn't? I mean, unless the jaw injury is really serious, we wouldn't cancel Moani's loan.
I don't see the point, because if he's going to be back in January anyway,
Yeah.
you'd be cancelling him to get someone in January anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah. Okay. Tom, Harry.
Yeah, I just think I just don't think that it should be a question that we should be talking about. And I understand in a way why it's asked, because he's out for a long time. But Moani's showing some promising signs. It'd be a pointless sideways backwards move from Tottenham. And don't get me wrong, the January window is important, as it is for so many clubs, especially because of the players who got out. But I don't think we should be looking at a goalkeeper. I don't think we should be looking at Moani, etc. And the reality is we have a lot of strikers. I'll leave it up to fans to decide whether they think we've got the quality or not. But we're certainly not short of depth in that striker positions, with or without injuries. But yeah, January's important. And, someone just said they're a tough ride. And, the games get tougher. I just think that as fans now, we must all get behind Thomas Frank, must all get behind the players, because we are 5th place in the Premier League. We're unbeaten in the Champions League. And we're missing all these players. That's goddamn impressive. I'm sorry, that really is. So I think we need to be patient, understanding. I think, we talk about all these questions. Can Frank take us here? Can Frank do this? Yes, I think he can. I really like Thomas Frank. I just think he needs time. So I can't stress that enough. And they're going to be bumps in the road, and they could be coming up, and they're tough games. And I know it's going to hurt. Like Arsenal's going to be tough away from home, especially if we don't get a result. I think we just got to stick with it as fans. But Moani's a player that hopefully he isn't out for too long after the news we heard today, but we could do with him back, and hopefully Solanke will come back. And that is a position that could all of a sudden need addressing in January. But I don't think we just go bye Moani, because the season's a long season, and whether he's back, he can still make an impact, Ian.
Yeah. Adrian, I try not to, as you know, when we talk, and our audience, our chat will know, tend not to do the hyperbole and every player we get linked with. But I've seen 3 or 4 press reports saying that Thomas Frank has had several conversations with Ivan Toney in terms of bringing him back from the Middle East in January. What would your reaction be to that?
I don't want him. I don't want Toney. I'd rather get Moani in full time. We're not sure with the situation now at Juventus with Vlahovic. I'd rather go and get him. We've been linked with Sumo, I forget his last name, at Porto, and others. Toney's now. Why didn't we go for him before? This is the question. Every Premier League club avoided him like the plague. What is there in the background that we're not being told? We know
the gambling thing is a risk, isn't it?
Well, if it is, and also if he's out in Saudi, he'll be on like 300, 400 grand a week or something. And you'll want a massive signing.
Okay.
We don't know
we don't know the economics. I mean, I
No.
purely want to talk about on football grounds.
Mm.
Harry, on football grounds, would you bring Ivan Toney in? Because I've got to be honest with you, I've always really liked him as a player, and he knows Thomas Frank, and Frank knows him.
Ability, yes. Person, no. I don't think this is going to happen, though. I think he's only linked because of Thomas Frank. That's the problem. And I think Adrian has a point. Even though we don't know, as you said, the logistics and the economics behind it, he will be on, promise you, 350, 400 grand. I honestly think it could be that high. I know it's crazy. This is Saudi Arabian money and Saudi Arabian market we're talking about. And he's just not really ever going to come to Tottenham, I'm afraid. I'm not keen on the person because we had the gambling. That's one thing. But then we had someone that didn't see after that what they'd done wrong and then said, kind of subtly saying, I'll do the same thing again. That is a big risk. Tottenham won't take that. We wouldn't under Daniel Levy. I still don't think we would now. We were very risk averse, weren't we? In terms of ability, Tony's that guy. So you just be ruthless and go bye-bye Richarlison, and then you come Tony, we're going to, it's whether you Tottenham opt for morals, whether Tottenham opt for is the player, the person. But Frank's kind of talks about, I have to say it, it's how he said it. No dickheads policy is in Frank's own words. For me, I could be totally wrong, and it's not fair for me to say because I'm not a fly on the wall. But I just think that maybe Tony doesn't fit that kind of category. But at the same time, look what Frank got out of Ivan Toney, which was incredible. And like even someone like Visser, for example, who's joined Newcastle, has been injured typically ever since. But people forget that he started off as a left winger, but Frank converted him when he lost Tony into this really effective striker. So Frank has a really good track record, especially over in Denmark as well, but also with Brentford, of converting positions of forward players, but getting the most out of them as well. That's what excites me with Tell, with Odebear. I feel really, really confident because I just look at that Brentford fab front three they had that got them from the Championship to the Premier League. I look at his record in Denmark, about goals they scored, and went there and a couple of strikers were really struggling. He got a lot out of them. So I just think in that case, patience is needed. But with Tony, for me, I'm going to say no. I think he's one that we just have to leave because it's probably not going to happen realistically.
No. I think someone mentioned Steven Gerrard as particularly one of the reasons he would have to pay, if he was going to take the Rangers job, he would have to pay 10 million in tax. And I think the discussions apparently broke down fairly early when the Rangers were told they'd have to pay 10 million in tax. And it's like, I mean, that's way outside the economics of a Scottish football club. So I suspect that's absolutely right. Look, I'm not going to overdo transfer speculation tonight. Where at least what are we still two? Yeah, we're still 2 months away from the transfer window opening. Does it open on 1st of January, Adrian?
Yeah, it's the whole month of January.
Just the whole month of January.
Yeah, the FA Cup there and 2 Champions League games to play in January as well.
We will. Well, we'll deal with it. I think we'll come in. Probably there'll be some shows around Christmas time and what have you, and New Year, that we'll want to talk about that in more detail. All right. Look,
I've got a question for you guys before you close in. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I would have taken 5th going into the November international break. After finishing 17th last year. And then, like I alluded to earlier, to have the best away record in the Premier League, I mean, I think Frank's doing a good job with what he's had to deal with regarding injuries and everything else. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's the right fit. I mean, the only sad thing I post in the WhatsApp group has been our home form, really.
Uncle Ian, it's grandpa into you. I have no idea, Destiny 5, how old you are, though. But grandpa Ian. Okay. Let's take that. And then there's another question in the chat. But, I mean, out the League Cup, disappointing, but losing to Newcastle away is hardly, a disgrace. If I said to you we could be fifth in the league at the beginning of November for the 3rd international break, still in the Champions League contention, certainly top 24, and we're certainly not out of top 8. And given the unbeaten away from home, and given the level of injuries, you'd say we're doing pretty all right, Harry, wouldn't you?
You would. You absolutely would. There's no two ways about it. I'm really happy with our start to the season. Again, the home form is an issue. Some of the performances, especially offensively, are reason for concern. But overall, I think we've done very well, and that's why I've never quite got the reaction because, like, make no mistake about it, we lose to Copenhagen. There's all of a sudden, and let's say we lose to Copenhagen, we somehow lose against United, then there's questions around Frank's future, and I just think that's just totally wrong. And we're in that position where we've won a trophy, which is great. First trophy in my lifetime. I was, wasn't there in Bilbao, but I was there for the trophy parade, loved it. But my concern at the time was that there would be a level of entitlement after that the next manager would get it tough and would feel it when things don't go that way. And unfortunately, that's the impression I get. But I'm very happy. Adrian said it. I don't want to keep repeating it, but best away record in the league, 5th place in the Premier League, unbeaten in the Champions League. That's not bad. That's not bad for someone that's missing 85, 86 goal contributions from last season. Not bad at all, if you ask me. So, I'm on the Frank train fully, as everyone, I think, should be behind the manager, behind the team, whether we want him here, whether we think he's right for Tottenham. And nobody knows whether Frank is, ready for the step up to Tottenham, whether Frank will win trophies at Tottenham. These are all good questions, whether it's going to work at all. But I just think we have to get behind the manager and the players for now. And I just don't see that quite enough for my liking, that sense of unity. And don't get me wrong, we're all frustrated that we didn't beat United, but I just see signs that are really promising. And we do need to improve the performances. I get that. And when you aren't playing attractive football because the players we got out in offensive positions, when you don't get results, it looks bleak. Look at Mourinho and Conte. When we didn't get results, it looked bleak. When we did, it looked great. And that's the problem, the style of play. If you don't play beautiful, crisp football, then you pay the price as a manager, as a team, when you don't quite get the result. It always looks a lot worse than I think it actually is. But no, I've really enjoyed the show. I think some really good points have been made by the chat, by everyone on the panel. So I agree with a lot that has been said tonight. Fully spot on, if you ask me.
We really try, Harry. We try, to keep the show interesting. We tend to keep our audience.
You did good.
It's always a good sign. Tom, what's your analysis of the season so far as we go into international break number 3? Yawn.
Yeah. I'm very happy so far. Like I said back in February when there was, talks about the fact that we might not be carrying on with Ange, that Thomas Frank was the manager I wanted us to go and get. And to be honest, I'm very happy. Like I see such parallels with this first few months under Thomas Frank as what I saw under Pochettino. It was a bit about building from the back, building something solid at the back so that you can then be more expressive in the attack going forward. And we have completely turned it around from last year where we were leaking goals for absolute fun. And now we are a lot more solid with things. And it's, look, people don't like the word process or whatever it is. Arsenal are in their going 7th period of their process of whatever it is and stuff like that. But it is a process. It's not something that was going to suddenly change overnight. Thomas Frank weren't going to come in and suddenly we're the best team in England. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous to even expect that. But the fact of the matter is that it's a results-based game, and the results we've been getting so far have been more than decent compared to what we were last year. We're conceding less, we're scoring more, and we are in the top 5 of the Premier League. We're still in the Champions. Well, obviously we're still in the Champions League, but we're still in a very good position in the Champions League. Haven't lost a game in the Champions League yet. Yeah, everyone was worrying about Thomas Frank being able to manage that in Europe, having never done it before. So look, there's a lot there to be excited about so far. But of course, we all want to see expansive and good football, but we also want to win games, and I think that's the most important thing. We saw some lovely football under Ange, but we also kept losing, so that wasn't what people wanted. Initially, when Mourinho came in, we were winning games and playing well, and it was all looking rosy. No one really cared that it was kind of sit back counter attack football when we were winning games. They only cared when we started losing games. So it's all about results, and if we can keep picking up like victories, and if we can, I think the most important thing is if we can improve our home form. If we can start winning games at home, then I think the whole attitude and mentality changes, because obviously your core away fan support are going and they're seeing us perform well in away games, and that's why they're probably a bit more on the Frank train in comparison to the large majority that are going to the home games that are seeing kind of maybe not the best performances and not the best results is the most important thing as well with that. So if we can improve that home form, get that more solid, get a few more wins coming at home, then I think you'll see a massive change in attitude from a lot of the fans towards Thomas Frank. But I think the overwhelming majority are behind Frank, and I'm very much behind him.
I mean, I think people saying Frank out now, I'm seriously idiots. I mean, how many
Lunatic.
more times do you just want to change the manager and go on a different direction with different players? At some point, you pick a manager. He wasn't my choice. I'd have gone for Glasner. I have no idea if he'd have been interested in the job. Maybe a lot of people, didn't want to work under Daniel Levy. I think Glasner would have been the right man for us, but we're not. We're 19th. Oh, hang on, I'll bring that. Yeah. Oh, someone else has brought that up. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking you brought that up. Yeah. Is that we back this man and give him the time and the resources to do the job, to put his stamp on the team, and that's maybe 2 or 3 years. As long as we're seeing progress, and let's be honest, if we can improve a couple of home performances even from now. Don't lose to Wolves. Beat Wolves. Even draw with Aston Villa. All of a sudden, that's another 3 points, and we're in second. It's so. Anyway, the last question, Adrian. Before I will close it off, let's bring you in on this. How far do you see us going in the Champions League?
Playoffs. We'll definitely get the playoffs after that. Depends on form, who's fit, who we brought in January. It's a bit of a long way off, but even the squad we've got, the injuries, will make those playoffs. We may finish out the top 8. Just a little bit on the Frank again. I mean, he's coming, he's steady as a ship. To me, it appears like we're treading water, but there's a lot more to come from this squad with the younger players, even without new additions in January.
Yeah.
But it could all go backwards quite easily before then. I mean, we've got this 8 games up until the end of Christmas to play. If we can hang in there where we are now and get to January, get players back that are injured, possibly get a couple of quality additions in, it's there for grabs. We could win the FA Cup, get the 5th, 6th or 7th spot. It could happen. We're not winning the Champions League or the Premier League. I mean, let's not get delusional. And I'm a very positive Spurs fan, but that's not happening. But what we all want to see is growth and progress. We seem to be treading water at the moment. A little bit forward, a little bit backward steps and things like that. And I want to see growth and progress.
The next 2 away games, one at Arsenal and the next Paris Saint-Germain, are going to be pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to be instructive in terms of the way the way that's amazing how this thing happens. I just do this. I just speak and I say about next fixtures, and the automatic cue comes on. It's abracadabra time on TTID. Tom, seriously, the next 2 fixtures, and we won't talk about beyond that Fulham and Brentford. And by the way, they're on public sale, so that's a sign of what people are thinking about the home form. The fact is, they're already on public sale. You don't need a membership to get tickets for them. But back to the question, Tom.
Yeah,
you're going to tell us a lot about where we're at. Arsenal away, Paris Saint-Germain away. 2 of the toughest games. The champions of Europe and the champions-elect of England. Sorry to say that, guys, but they're going to be tough games.
Well, 100% they're going to be tough games, but away form is our best kind of form, isn't it? So we're much better away side than we are home side at the moment. And the interesting thing with the Arsenal game for me is that by the time we play them, their lead could be down to as little as, I think, 2 points or 3 points, because City played the day before. So if City win, that puts them on 25, Arsenal on 26. So it'd be down to 1 point, and then we're playing them. So it would be very interesting how Arsenal go into that game, and how nervous they might be, considering they're playing us at home, but that all of a sudden they're massive lead and champions elect, and they could almost be 1 point in dragged back to City already. I think that's going to be a really, really interesting game. And I think, actually, to be honest, all the pressure's on Arsenal in that game. Like, they're the ones who should be winning that game. So there's no real pressure on us. So it's one that we can really, really take to them. In terms of PSG, they weren't very good last time out in the Champions League. I think, was it Bayern they were playing? They did Bayern beat them even with only 10 men on the pitch and stuff. So PSG is a bit of an anomaly, but I think they've got quite a few injuries in key areas and stuff as well. It'd be interesting because when we played PSG early season, we that was the only game that we played with a 5-back, 3-back formation. It'd be interesting to see if that rears its head again anytime soon. But I think the problem with that is that we just don't have enough centre backs to facilitate playing 3 at the back. That'll be all of our centre backs playing in one. Yeah, so that'll be the problem with that. But yeah, interesting after the international break. Boring. 3 international breaks already. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to that Arsenal game because I'm actually going into it with doesn't feel like there's the pressure and expectation that we're going to win, and I think that favours us a little bit, especially if City can beat Newcastle the day before.
Yeah, Harry. It went back to the question about how far we might go in the Champions League. Any thoughts?
I like to be bold. I seems as someone who can be quite balanced and sensible, but at the same time, I'm ambitious. That kind of experience of seeing, Tottenham lose, over, many years, I haven't seen that. So I've been lucky in terms of, just 17 years, or no, just under 17 years of seeing. But I feel optimistic. I'm going to be quite bold. I think that in the league, we may struggle a little bit more than Champions League. So hear me out. And this is what I'm about to say is not what I expect. It's just me being optimistic. I think if the agent says form's got to go away, injuries have got to go away, but I'm going to say somehow we get to the quarterfinal and probably finish about 7th in the league, which I'd be incredibly happy with. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think for 1 minute we, should be saying that we need to get to the quarterfinal. But I just have a suspicion that we'll go on a really good run in Europe after a lot of questions about Frank. Can he juggle the Champions League? Is he right to be a Champions League manager? I just think throw that back to get to get to quarterfinal, returning to that competition is quite special in the first year under a new manager. I just think it'll be really impressive. And don't get me wrong, we aren't competing with the likes of Arsenal. We've got them playing. We want to, beat them. Absolutely, that's right. You should go into every game with the highest ambition to win the game. That's like when you start a season. You should be in terms of aiming to win the league. What's the point of being in? I've said that with the Champions League. What's the point in getting top 4 if you're not in it to win it? That's the point. Because you can be in it to win it, but not have the expectation to win it, but try and win it. There's a big difference there. Yeah. So for me, for Tottenham, as long as we're having a go, we're giving it everything, we're competing on more than one front. That is the club's aim. And for us fans who want to see us be competitive, Tottenham deserve to be in the Champions League. Tottenham deserve to be in the latter stages as well of the Champions League. And I believe over time we'll get there. So I hope and believe deep down, because I back the club, that we can get to the quarterfinal. But it might take some grit, a bit of luck along the way, and hopefully no more injuries and etc. Have to go our way. And I actually think we might. It's difficult. I think it'll be really difficult to see us getting into that top 8, because if I'm honest with you, in my head, I thought we'd beat Bodo and we didn't, which is fine. But of course, it's a couple of points less than I thought potentially we could have. Then PSG and Dortmund will be, of course, tough. So we realistically probably go through by the playoffs. But that's the thing. Team that often go very far, it's not always rosy. It doesn't have to be. Often the teams that just get through in the playoffs, do well. So I'm optimistic.
But just looking at the table, Sunderland are above us. We'd have to say we could finish above them, but below us, Manchester United and Liverpool, are Liverpool. Who on earth would have dreamt that Liverpool at this stage would have just got drubbed and been hopelessly outplayed by Manchester City 3-0? Crazy. And our 8 points off the lead. And playing abysmally, Adrian, I'll give you the last word on this. Although looking at Nita in the chat, Nita, I hope we've still got this pack to continue to grow old disgracefully. That's all I will say. Adrian, your last word for you on. I'll say just before I do give you the last word.
You never know with the Champions League.
Hang on, Adrian. Let me do, because then I will give you the last word. If we can get to the last 16 or last 8, top 6, but let's try and win the cup. That would be my dream season. Let's win that FA Cup.
Well, you never know. Even with, I mean, it would be more unlikely with the Champions League to do well quarters and semis, but we did get to the final, and we staggered to the final with a threadbare squad.
Oh,
And somehow we went to
just-
Man City, and we went to Ajax without a prayer.
Yeah.
So you never know in football, and
Yeah.
this is the
Well,
fun
right.
and the jeopardy and the fun with it. You have to look while you're in a competition. Believe you can win it. Why not? When you go out, you can be pissed off. That's fair enough. But like, get on that white knuckle roller coaster, which is following Spurs, right, and enjoy it and celebrate every win. And we'll just see how it goes, because like we could progress from here, or we could fall off the pace.
Yeah.
I mean, so we don't know. All the fixtures are tough. Let's be fair. Every fixture's tough. And Frank
Adrian,
is
I'm going to
getting
bring
used
you
to
in
playing
on this. Adrian,
a
sorry,
game every 3 days. Frank's getting used to that, and he's adapted in Europe because we're unbeaten.
Yeah.
So go on, Ian. You were saying something. I
No,
was getting carried
because
away.
for the third day in a row, I'm reading that we are prepared to buy Rodrigo for £70 million from Real. That's the third day in a row. That's the gossip page has got.
Yeah, get him on his wages, and then go and get Nico Williams as well to back up for as competition for Kudus on the right. Get him as well. Yeah, why not? I mean, why not? We don't know. Listen, we need to know if ENIC are being authentic. There's all this talk about this money we're going to spend, another 100 million being invested. We already had the 100 million, and we had the 70 million we were going to spend as a Villa anyway. So if you park 100 million for infrastructure projects, you've still got 170 million to spend, right? Let's see if ENIC are being authentic, and don't be deceived by this.
Yeah.
Because although Levy's been in charge, ENIC have been at this club 20 odd years, so don't be deceived by them, right? What the proof of the pudding? They've been given a honeymoon period to January. We'll see what they do in January.
Yeah.
If they let us down
that
again,
would be a game changer, though, wouldn't it, guys?
Yeah. Well,
that would be. Rodrigo would tell me that the Lewis family, and I keep saying that like they're the new pop group, that they would be the statement signing that says we are really serious about Tottenham Hotspur competing at the very top level. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Rodrigo, 100%. And the thing is, he's only this season, I think so far, only made 2 appearances in the league for Real Madrid, and it's a World Cup year as well. And he's 100% going to be wanting to get in on that. So I think a loan move is definitely a viable option. A loan move probably works for him because it means he's not fully having to commit to come into Tottenham Hotspur, but he can get more regular football and things like that, and hopefully we can sell him the dream of Tottenham Hotspur whilst he's here on loan. People won't want to hear that because they'll want to hear that the player wants to come to Tottenham Hotspur and stuff like that, but we also need to accept where we are in the pecking order, and going from Real Madrid to Tottenham Hotspur is a step down. Like, we can't sugarcoat it. It's a step down, and sometimes that does mean that you need to play the game, and let's face it, that's what happened with Mawani coming from PSG to us as well. It was a seen as a step down for him, so we've had to play the loan game and stuff like that. And the thing is, if the Lewis family start making signings like that, let's put it this way, if you sign Rodrigo, then all of a sudden other players start going, oh, I want a bit of that as well. If he's going there, then there's a reason that I might want to go there as well. So that's sometimes it's making those signings that help you to make other signings in the future and stuff as well.
Good points, Tom. Harry, I'll bring you in on this. I mean, Destiny 5, he's on £275,000 a week. I think I've highlighted that because I think my point is it's not just the 100 million that they might have made available to pay, to buy 4 or 5 players with transfers or down payments and what have you. The proof of the pudding will be, are we prepared to compete with the very top people on wages? I mean, people have talked about bringing Harry Kane back. I suspect that's unlikely. But if we were prepared to pay Harry Kane £350,000 a week or whatever, that again would be a statement of intent. If we were prepared to pay the kind of wages that Rodrigo is on, that would be that would be a that would be a statement of intent from the board, from the Lewises, that they are deadly serious about us competing.
Yeah, and I want to give the Lewis family another chance. Adrian's right, January is key, and I know it's different faces within the group in terms of, it's not Joe Lewis, etc. And I know there's a few movements there, so I want to be open-minded, but at the same time, I want to go, where's this ambition for sustained success, for sporting success, on the pitch success come from? Just sit here complicit with, not winning anything, and all of a sudden you jump on the bandwagon of Bilbao and you're like, oh yeah, we like the feeling of that. We actually know what winning the trophy is like. And I just don't know. It feels a bit two-faced and a bit too good to be true almost, unfortunately. But I really hope I'm wrong about that. Xavi Simons, though, is the type of signing that some would say, and I think they make a good point, that we want to see. Tottenham simply don't usually sign players in their prime. We're being like, one I always use is Ivan Perisic, a player that, if you're a real top club, you probably signed 5-10 years before we did. We get him, which is great. But, if you're ambitious, could we made that move, quite a few years earlier when he was at his best and, offering a lot more, just as an example. We like these little loans, and don't get it wrong, loans are great, but at the same time, you're ambitious also through signings more than anything. So Rodrigo will be interesting. I don't think it happens. It's 2 and 2 together. You're right. The fact he will want minutes. I can see him coming to the Premier League, but to be honest with you, I think Tottenham find themselves unfortunately further down that pecking order. I think there are other clubs that Rodrigo would look at first. I think Man City is definitely one. I know we've had that discussion before. We'll have to see. It's not for me to say whether it's going to happen or not, but you're right, Ian, in terms of January is key. But even some things like for me, and of course it's easy for me to sit here and go, oh, we should have done this, could have done that. Why have we bought him? Why are we interested in him? We don't know, but we didn't replace Son. If you're ambitious owners, you're ambitious clubs, you replace someone of the legacy of Son, and it was right to let him go, by the way. But you need to replace someone like that. We didn't bring anyone in. We, some reason, driven on Savinha, and then left it because it wasn't going to happen. Simple as that. And I just think that we just seemed in the summer to be able to just go for one player at once. You just got all these clubs like, I know Liverpool aren't working at the moment, but they could get 2 deals done and 2 people work on it. It's just like Tottenham with so one-dimensional on one player, no plan B. And I don't want to go over the summer again because there were positive things about it. And overall, for me, it's still a good summer. But the point is, if ENIC were our ambition, I know something's changed since then, Daniel Levy leaving, but, we go and stop like some Morgan Rogers, which is about to sign a new deal. We stop Semenya, sign a new deal for a little bit of ambition, sell the project. That's the thing. That's the concern I have. Hope with Paratici back, Ian, and with Levy gone, it'll be more positive, hopefully.
The reason, I hope this doesn't happen, but the cynical part, the most cynical viewpoint to take, if I was the most ardent protester out there, right? I mean, I know they've been stymied by what ENIC has said, but if you looked at it from the most cynical point of view, you could say, oh yeah, we're stuck with Lewis and his family going, what are we going to do? We got all these protests, not good for business. What we do is we'll sack the chairman, right? We'll promise the earth, and that will get the protesters and everyone else off our backs, And that is a very cynical outlook to take, but it's still an outside possibility. With what they've said and all the changes at the club, with Rob McKenzie with 10 staff under him for recruiting and stuff like that, 5 scouts, 5 analysts and things like that. I don't believe that's going to happen. But this is why I'm saying, show us in January. You've got to do something big in January.
If it's possible. But let me make.
Well, yeah, I know it's only a month even. But hold on, they've got all this time now to do it and to set these deals up. Even if they're loans, like Tom alluded to, which is good to get loans in on. And we've done some cracking business in January.
Yes.
We got Porro and we got Ali and we got Bentancur and we got Kulusevski in. We got Romero in. All right, we got Dan Juma, part of that one. But I mean,
I'm going to comment on this. The Lewises are doing it to avoid the inheritance tax. I've got to tell you that all this money will be offshore. The billions will be offshore. The billions are not waiting for Rachel from accounts to take it all when Joe pegs it. The money will be in offshore trusts and what have you. You can bet your bottom dollar. The very, very rich don't pay inheritance tax. Only paupers like us get to pay it. But I mean, my gut, Adrian, on what you've said on this is that if the Lewis family, they got Levy out for whatever's gone on behind the scenes. I suspect you won't hear about it, and you won't hear about it for 20 years if you do. But if they were going to sell, they wouldn't have publicly rejected 3 offers if they just wanted the money. You know, the public statements are, we want to make this club, you know, we want to make this club great, we want to achieve things and what have you. They wouldn't be rejecting serious financial offers and making public statements.
Also on that, I mean, I took a lot of pelters about 3 seasons ago saying I don't want to invest in this football club. And people on other shows go, what are you talking about? I said, and investors, clues in the word, invest to get a return on your money. I said, I'd want a new owner. You know, I'd want a new owner. This is why I want to see it, you know, not only just talk the talk, but walk the walk in January and make sure we get a big signing or 2 in January to show us. Because we've had all this talk about future investors, right, that might have a phased buyout. If you get a future investor and there's no phased buyout, it makes it even more difficult to sell the club in the future. You know, so I want to be shown, you know.
Yeah, Destiny, I think the point is that the money, Joe Lewis, I think, is a resident of the Bahamas. He will not be subject on any shape or form to British inheritance tax laws, because he's no longer a British citizen. That's what, or certainly a British resident. That's my understanding. Anyway, look, it's neither here nor there. If they do want to spend £20 billion on the club to avoid inheritance tax, I'm all for it. But look, I think it's right. And I was never going to run for over 2 hours till. Is it now? Yeah, it's 11:45. Yeah, there you go. But look, the show's been interesting, and the one thing I always got, if you host shows, you'll know that there's a number in my top left-hand corner as to how many people are watching, and it was in the mid-50s at one point, and we're up in the 70s now. So clearly people are interested in, from the comments as well, about what we've had to say. So if I think I'm losing the audience, we just say, well, we'll wrap it up. But it is time to wrap up now, because we've gone for over 2 minutes. And I know it's past Harry's bedtime. And I don't know, Tom, if it's too late for you to be doing baby duties or whatever. But as I say, it's 11:45. I've got to get a plane tomorrow as well, back to Glasgow. I just need to say my thanks. Harry, as ever, some lovely compliments for you and the show. An old head on young shoulders. You've been a great guest again. Helped stimulate some really, really good debate. So you will be on this show regularly. So thank you, Harry. Tom, one of our regulars, for a reason,
and fellow admin.
As ever, and it's great to see, you know, the youngsters. And Tom, I count you as someone still in their early 30s to be making such a mature and considered contribution to what we're saying. So thank you, Destiny 5, and all of you that have made nice comments. You know, thank you, Adrian. As ever, great job done. Someone's crept in at the back of Tom's picture.
Only a burglar.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Adrian, I don't know if you want to say anything before we go.
Just plug the channel, guys. Look, we got 70 odd you there. Some of you have come on a bit late. We will be going out 9:30 on Sundays. Although I won't be doing this show midweek, I'll do one Friday, a review, because it's the dreaded international break. And we like to be fact-based on Spurs Diehards and bring you interesting content. We don't want to just do a show for the sake of doing a show if we've got nothing interesting to talk about, you know. So, but if you like the show, the 70 of you viewing us on various platforms, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up, because it helps the algorithm. Big up to everyone on playback. Gonna get big up to everyone in the chat as usual for your comments and questions as well. And back to you, Ian.
Yeah, no, again, I can only echo that. Please, if you haven't, hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you to all of you for your comments, for your support, for everything. It just makes it, we do work hard on this, and it just makes it worthwhile to get such really good comments and regulars that come on here day in or week in, week out to listen to what we have to say. Thanks, Nita, as one of our fans. It's come on, you Spurs, and we'll see. I'm away for a few weeks, but I will see you in the middle of December. There'll no doubt be other things going on, and hopefully Tom
There will.
do some hosting as well. I'm sure you'll do it brilliantly. So yeah, I'm waffling. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you guys in the back room.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham